Good evening, Truth Serum Nation. It's JoJo coming back at you. Uh, Good evening. Cold winter's night. Uh, Give praise. Thank you, Jesus. Been checking out these videos and everything. If you're new and I try to cover different topics. I used to do all the mafia stuff and all that. Ran around just a errand boy, and now I've been doing that Billy Carson. Check that out. Good old Billy Carson, Billy boy, Billy boy. But I'm checking this list out that Elon Musk made of foods that, is there any, like the Food and Drug Administration, it doesn't enforce anything. I mean, what you find out in the ingredients of these foods, but I guess RFK, the new cabinet member with Donald Trump, maybe he'll put um, more restrictions on all this because our country's unhealthy, our country's obese, and that just keeps the pharmaceuticals going. That just, garbage pail food, healthcare, hospitals, pharmacies, take medicine. It's like, generationally speaking, you're just programmed that people are always taking medications. You got to take a medication, and then you got to take something for those side effects. And then it looks like the side effects are worse than the original problem. This is a web. I hope RFK. So Elon Musk, I reckon, came up with some of these things. So let's see what they got to say. Hey, Super Mario.
But you know, like fish. I'm like DC. I'm afraid of that whole thing.
Let's see.
We very often don't even know what we're actually eating. It's easy to assume that the food on our plates is straightforward, wholesome, and exactly what the packaging suggests.
I don't think so. You can't even figure out all these chemicals, all these different types of ingredients. Is there anything that's just natural? I mean, even when it comes down to fruit and vegetables, and then they put chemicals on those. Is there anything? Well, organic food is 5 times more expensive than all this processed garbage. But let's see what's on this list. I didn't watch this all the way through.
After all, why would it be anything else? But behind the bright labels, catchy slogans, and mouth-watering pictures lies a hidden reality about many of the products we consume daily.
No poop flavor at all.
A reality that might surprise, disgust, or even shock you. Join.
Did he say no poop flavor? How come we're not getting more advanced as years go by? Why aren't we getting more advanced?
As we explore Elon Musk's list of 15 products you'll stop buying after you find out what they're made of.
Most luxurious coffees begins its journey in the digestive system of a civet cat.
What?
15. The seafood industry. When Elon Musk said that he would reveal 15 products we'd stop buying once we learned how they're made, he wasn't kidding. At the very top of his...
I have an aversion to seafood, so this doesn't even... well, they're just going to talk about the processing and, when they process it, it's on the floor, blood and bacteria and everything like that. Let's move forward.
Picture this. Fish dumped onto truck floors, jostled together in tight, unsanitary spaces, often sitting in pools of dirty water. It's not just unappealing, it's downright unhygienic. The lack of care during transportation and handling raises... Combine this with the high levels of omega-6 fats found in margarine, which can lead to inflammation and chronic illnesses like cardiovascular disease and diabetes,
margarine.
And you've got a recipe for trouble. But the hidden costs, both ethical and environmental, of this industry can no longer be ignored.
That's fish.
If you want to enjoy seafood guilt-free, the solution lies in choosing sustainable, ethically sourced options. Or, as Elon might suggest, perhaps it's time to rethink fish altogether. 14. Margarine.
Margarine.
You all know that margarine is often marketed as a healthier alternative to butter, but once you understand what goes into making it, you might think twice before spreading it on your toast.
Good old margarine? I guess I've been hoodwinked. I thought. Who knows what is what anymore? Margarine. Let's see what he's got to say.
The journey of margarine starts with vegetable oils like soybean, sunflower, or palm oil. These oils undergo intense heating and chemical processes, including hydrogenation, to achieve that solid, buttery consistency. Unfortunately, this process often creates harmful trans fats, which are
like I care while I smoke a cigarette, right? I should care because I'm getting up there in age. I better start getting a better diet.
Notorious for raising bad cholesterol, lowering good cholesterol, and increasing the risk of heart disease. But it doesn't stop there. To make margarine visually appealing and palatable, manufacturers use chemical solvents like hexane to extract oils, followed by bleaching and deodorizing to remove unpleasant colors and smells.
Bleaching?
Let's not forget the emulsifiers and artificial colors added to achieve that smooth texture and bright yellow hue. It's a far cry from the simple, churned cream that makes butter.
Wow.
The story gets even darker with the vegetable oils themselves. Many of these are derived from genetically modified crops treated with glyphosate, a chemical linked to numerous health and environmental concerns.
It's in everything.
Combine this with the high levels of omega-6 fats found in margarine, which can lead to inflammation and chronic illnesses like cardiovascular disease and diabetes, and you've got a recipe for trouble. To top it off, preservatives like BHT flagged in studies for their potential toxicity.
Everything out there has preservatives. No wonder those Far East islands that they all just eat natural things. They're all slim and they live to 100 years old. No wonder. We're just consumers. We're just consumption of just getting fat, unhealthy, and going to doctors, getting on medications, and just get on that merry-go-round. That's America. Well, what are you going to do? That's the way it is.
And cancer-promoting effects are added to extend shelf life. All this effort just to produce a product that, let's be honest, doesn't even taste as good as butter.
I've never get margarine.
13. Luwak coffee. Have you ever heard of Kopi Luwak, the coffee made from beans that have passed through the digestive system of a civet?
Most luxurious
coffee beans that have passed through the digestive system of an animal that looks like a beaver. What?
Coffees begins its journey in the digestive system of a civet cat.
At first, it sounds like a quirky, luxurious treat. After all, it's one of the most expensive coffees in the world, with a single cup costing upwards of $35.
Not this one.
The idea is that the Asian palm civet, a nocturnal animal native to Southeast Asia, eats ripe coffee cherries, and its digestive enzymes ferment the beans, supposedly resulting in a smoother, less acidic coffee.
Wow. Then they poop them out? What do?
But behind this exotic story lies a bitter truth. In the wild, civets enjoy a varied diet of fruits, insects, and seeds. However, commercial Kopi Luwak farms confine these solitary animals to tiny cages and force-feed them coffee cherries to maximize production.
Wow.
This unnatural diet leads to malnutrition and health issues for the civets. Moreover, their nocturnal habits and need for solitary living are disregarded, causing immense stress as they're kept awake for tourists to gawk at during the day. Adding insult to injury, the Kopi Luwak industry is rife with fraud. Studies estimate that over 80% of Kopi Luwak sold worldwide are fake, often just regular coffee beans marketed at a premium price. Even when the coffee is authentic.
Most of us ain't drinking this Luwak coffee, whatever that is. You just get Folgers or whatever. Most of us ain't drinking that stuff that these animals are pooping out.
Beans from caged civets are of inferior quality compared to those produced by wild, free-roaming civets, which naturally select the best cherries. Ethical Kopi Luwak is nearly impossible to find, so why not opt for a high-quality, ethically sourced coffee instead? 12. Burgers. If you are a burger lover...
I just had 2 hamburgers. Is there anything going to be left to eat?
It's time to take a closer look at what you're biting into. While that juicy patty might seem like the ultimate comfort food, there are plenty of reasons why burgers, especially from fast food chains, should stay off your menu. First, let's talk about calories. A single fast food burger can pack over 1,000 calories, half of your daily allowance.
Well, most Americans aren't concerned about calories, considering the obesity problem and overweight problem we have. So, okay, calories is one thing, but what about these ingredients?
Combine that with fries and a soda, and you've probably exceeded your entire calorie budget in one meal.
Who cares?
Not to mention, these burgers are loaded with cholesterol and sodium, both of which can wreak havoc on your heart health. High cholesterol increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes, while too much sodium puts extra strain on your arteries.
Mario, I guess we're just going to eat air because so far there ain't going to be anything left. I mean, I don't know. Let's see.
Cholesterol is the main cause of a heart attack or a stroke.
But here's where it gets even more unsettling.
What?
That burger patty isn't just from one cow. It's likely a mix of meat from several cows, sometimes from different countries. This increases the risk of contamination and the spread of harmful bacteria.
Now we're getting the meat from different cows that they just blend together from different areas of the world because it might be cheaper and it might promote contamination. And I know I always feel like crap when I just ate 2 hamburgers. I could feel it. I'm 61 years old. Excuse me.
Like E. coli. Speaking of which, beef recalls due to E. coli are all too common. And then there's the infamous pink slime, an ammonia-treated filler often added to meat to stretch production. Ammonia.
Pink slime? Ammonia-treated filler? They add to it? It doesn't say that on the label. I guess I haven't even looked. I don't look at labels.
Your food.
Wow.
11. Processed vanilla flavors. When we talk about
processed vanilla flavors, we see that in everything, I believe.
Vanilla flavor, we don't mean the vanilla that comes from the sweet, aromatic beans of the vanilla orchid. Instead, many of the vanilla-flavored products you encounter are made with artificial ingredients, and their origins might surprise or even
Wow, here we go again.
For your wife this year.
Here we go again.
Cherish forever. It says, to my wife.
Here we go again.
Are made with artificial ingredients, and their origins might surprise or even disgust you. One unexpected source of artificial vanilla flavor is castoreum, a secretion from the anal glands of beavers.
What? Castoreum, a secretion from the anal glands of beavers? That's what this artificial vanilla, that seems like that's in everything. What? Secretion from the anal glands of beavers? How would you even come upon to know to do that? Well, let's go find some, what was the beginning of that? How would they discover that? I mean, scientists are checking out anal glands and beavers and going, oh yeah, we could put this in the artificial vanilla. Wow.
Yes, you heard that right. Beavers use castoreum to mark their territory, but its scent has a unique quality that can mimic the aroma of vanilla.
Wow.
While it's rarely used in foods today due to its expense, just knowing this fact might make you think twice about where your vanilla comes from. More commonly, artificial vanilla is made from vanillin, a synthetic compound derived from sources like lignin, a byproduct of wood pulp, or guaiacol, which comes from clove oil.
A byproduct of wood pulp? What's going on here? There's not going to be anything left, Mario, but air and water. When this list is over with.
While these ingredients might not sound as shocking as castoreum, they're still far removed from the natural, wholesome vanilla pods you might imagine. This reliance on artificial flavoring is part of a broader trend in processed foods. Unlike mechanical processing, which can preserve a food's natural qualities, chemical processing strips away much of the nutritional value, replacing it with synthetic additives.
And then it strips the flavor. There's nothing left.
Artificial vanilla is a prime example of this practice, offering a cheaper and faster alternative to the labor-intensive cultivation of real vanilla. So, next time you savor a vanilla-flavored treat, take a moment to consider its origins. 10. Tomato ketchup.
Ketchup? I don't even think I should have done this because now I'm not going to have anything to eat. Ketchup. Are they being extreme here, so they could get their, are they being extreme?
Be honest, how many times a day do you add tomato ketchup to everything you eat? Whether it's French fries, burgers, samosas, or even a plate of Maggi, ketchup seems to have been...
Well, earlier, like I said, I had a couple of hamburgers. I put ketchup on them. Those two are on the list. And then I had an English muffin, and I put margarine on there. That's on the list. So far,
become an irreplaceable companion for all things savory. Its sweet and tangy taste is undeniably satisfying. But have you ever stopped to consider what's really inside that tempting red bottle? Spoiler alert.
Isn't it tomato ketchup? Tomatoes?
It's not as innocent as it seems. Store-bought ketchup is packed with sugar, preservatives, high fructose corn syrup, and a staggering amount of sodium. These ingredients may enhance the flavor, but they can wreak havoc on your body. Just a few tablespoons can contribute to weight gain due to the sugar overload and lead to obesity over time.
So I'm eating everything that's going to clog my arteries and give me high blood pressure. I got to start walking more.
Plus, that high fructose corn syrup, it's linked to heart disease and an increase in triglycerides, bad news for your cardiovascular health. The acidity of ketchup, thanks to citric and malic acids, is another problem. These acids can aggravate conditions like acid reflux and heartburn, especially for those with sensitive stomachs.
No wonder I always feel like that at night. Reflex, tearing my system apart.
And let's not forget the preservatives and sodium, which can cause inflammation, joint problems, and even increase the risk of kidney stones by contributing to calcium buildup in the body. If that wasn't enough, regular consumption of ketchup can also mess with your insulin levels. The excessive sugars and additives put unnecessary strain on your body, potentially leading to long-term issues like diabetes. 9. Red food dye. Now get ready for something...
Red food dye? So everything that's red, of course, they dye it. Let's see.
Really disgusting. Your favorite red foods and drinks might be dyed with crushed bugs. Many products on the market use a red food dye.
Did he say crushed bugs?
Derived from the cochineal insect, a tiny critter found mainly in Peru and the Canary Islands. The dye, often labeled as carmine, cochineal extract, or natural red 4, is extracted by drying, crushing, and processing these insects. Shocking.
You see, they don't use these names of like this red bug and then the beaver secreting stuff from his butt. They just use these terms, L16. They just, if you looked at the label, you wouldn't know what it meant anyways. All these chemical terms.
It takes about 70,000 bugs to make just 1 pound of this vibrant red pigment. Cochineal dye has been used for centuries. In the 1500s, Europeans discovered that the Aztecs were using it to create stunning, long-lasting red fabrics. Today, however, it's not just used for textile, it's in your food, cosmetics, and even medication coatings.
Wow. Well, when Robert Kennedy gets in office, I hope he's going to be running all the health stuff and FDA or whatever. I hope he gets on top of some of this stuff. It'd take too much though to reverse what's already been in place, and take such a massive effort.
Lipsticks, yogurts, and candies are all common culprits. While the dye doesn't pose any known health risks for most people, it can trigger severe allergic reactions in some. Plus, if you're vegan, vegetarian, or follow a kosher diet, this ingredient is definitely one to avoid. Here's the kicker. While the idea of eating bugs might make your stomach churn, the alternatives could be even worse. Synthetic red dyes, like red number 40, are made from coal or petroleum byproducts and have been linked to far more serious health risks, including
coal or petroleum byproducts in this red dye.
Activity in children and potential carcinogenic effects.
No kidding.
8. Canned mushrooms.
Mushrooms?
If you don't want to eat maggots, it might be time to
Here's a life lesson.
What?
Don't use Viagra.
Oh my gosh. Commercials.
Hard in 15 seconds before going.
If you don't want to eat maggots, it might be time to rethink that can of mushrooms in your pantry. While it sounds like the plot of a horror movie, the truth is that canned mushrooms are legally allowed to contain a certain number of maggots and mites.
Canned mushrooms are legally allowed to contain maggots and mites. Wow.
According to the FDA, it's economically impractical to eliminate all natural contaminants from food, meaning some rather unsettling additions make it to your plate. Here's the breakdown. In a batch of canned mushrooms, an average of less than 20 maggots per 600 grams is acceptable, with no more than 5 being over 2 millimeters long.
Wow.
And it doesn't stop at maggots.
What maggots?
The FDA also permits up to 75 mites per 100 grams of mushrooms. Yes, those tiny spider-like arthropods could be lurking in your next stir-fry.
Is it like they're just intentionally just trying to poison us? Because the FDA allows certain levels of this stuff in everything. The FDA must be in bed with the pharmaceutical industry.
The good news? Maggots and mites are generally harmless if consumed in small quantities, and maggots are even considered safe to eat by themselves.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The bad news? They can carry diseases if they've been in contact with rotting matter. While the FDA assures us that these defects pose minimal risk to health,
I trust the FDA like I trust the man in the moon.
The idea of munching on maggot-laced mushrooms is enough to turn most stomachs. The solution?
I did a lot of mafia stories, but I seem to be offended more with this type of stuff than the mafia stories. Because this stuff is on a massive population that hundreds of millions of people consume. Hundreds of millions. The mafia was just a closed fraternity. Like I say, a lot of the people in government and agencies, they're worse than the mafia. They're evil.
fresh vegetables. By swapping canned produce for fresh options, you can take control of what's going into your meals. Sure, washing and prepping fresh mushrooms takes a little more effort, but isn't it worth it to avoid unwanted extras in your dinner?
Like maggots? Wow.
7. Bread.
Bread.
Speaking of
bread. Now bread. Bread is on the list. There's nothing left. What's on the list? Well, we can't even say air. Well, because the air is polluted. The water's polluted. There's nothing left. Nothing left.
Foods you should cut off the menu. Let's talk about bread, the staple food we often take for granted. While you might think store-bought bread is just a simple mix of flour, yeast, water, and maybe a few additives, the reality is far stranger.
Wow.
Believe it or not, some brands use human hair to make their bread softer and easier to handle.
Some brands use human hair to make their bread softer.
So I decided really to sit down and read it. And he says, if you read the ingredient labels on a loaf of bread, you will usually find an ingredient listed there as L-cysteine.
The culprit here is an amino acid called L-cysteine, a common dough.
I can't carry on anymore. Thank you, Mario, for coming in. Check out my other videos. The Billy Carson story is really interesting. I'm going to do another mafia story this weekend probably. And we're just going to keep going the truth serum. And I want to do some more biblical stuff and just cover the bases. So anybody that comes on here, help a guy out, hit the subscribe button, the share button. I guess my subscriber is on my ticker is unfrozen. So I think I'm back in business. All right. If you want to support the channel, there's a link in the description for my book. I wrote a nice memoir of divine intervention and the mob, things like that. So we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Super Mario, for hanging out. Anybody else that comes in here, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the notification bell, because I pop on here. I talk about a lot of different stuff. It's not a mafia channel. And we're gonna follow up on Billy Carson too. So keep our eyes and ears open. And see, I've done a lot of political stuff, but we're just gonna wait. And, you know, it gets aggravating when these politics and things like that. So so that's it, folks. Be the kings and queens of your world. Don't give up. The world is a vampire. It wants that blood. Fight back. Put on a spiritual armor. Sometimes we got to ask Jesus and God for a little help. So we'll do that. Happy holidays. The holidays could be depressing sometimes too. So don't get too crazy on alcohol and drugs and things like that. Because it's a joyous time and it can be a depressing time. So that depression, if you already suffer from depression, it could be magnified even further during holiday times because we suffer from loss and different types of situations that compound it. So we'll leave it at that. God bless everybody. I'll be back probably tomorrow, rocking and rolling on something. So stay tuned and thanks for everything. Good night, Mario.